the doctrine of ripeness. Regarding exhaustion, the position is that for the court to defer jurisdiction because of the doctrine of exhaustion, the alternative or ineffective, the court cannot defer jurisdiction. In this petition, there is no doubt that Parliament cannot determine whether the impugned sections are unconstitutional. Parliament can also determine whether deployment of police officers outside Kenya is unconstitutional. Parliament's mandate is to approve or for such declaration has to be published in the Kenya Gazette. Section 108(1) authorizes the President, on application by a government of the reciprocating country, to order a number of police officers he may consider necessary emergency. Under subsection 2, a police officer who is punished in the reciprocating country under any of the provisions of our Act, which are applied in the reciprocating country under the reciprocal arrangement, that officer will be deemed to have been punished in Kenya for a similar offense if committed in Kenya. Section 109, on the other hand, is the Kenya under reciprocal arrangement similar to those in Section 108, subsection 1. The petitioner's case is that the impugned sections are constitutionally infirm because they allow deployment of police officers outside Kenya.
On behalf of the Law Society, we are most grateful. Thank you.
Minister? Yes, I'll check a few typos I've noticed, and you'll have the decision. Thank you. It was not one of your prayers. I did it at the beginning. You are not listening. Thank you.
Decision with regard said is the manner currently intended for deployment of police officers is unconstitutional, null and void. The court has emphasized that if any deployment is to happen, then it has to respect Section 107, 108 and 109 of the National Police Service Act. The original intention went through the National Security Council. The court has said that the National Security Council cannot deploy police officers. The National Security, it has to respect Section 107, 108, and 109, which requires that we have an agreement, a reciprocal agreement with Haiti. We have to have that gazetted, and then the request has to go to Parliament for approval. So without that, the deployment cannot continue.
So we're back to square one.
They have to go and check the law again. That is for the Attorney General to do what is right. That is the decision of the High Court today. Yes. Kwa intention ya serikali ya kupeleka polisi, afisa wa polisi kule Haiti haiwezekani kwa sababu walikuwa wamejaribu kupitia njia ya National Security Council. Wameambiwa hapana, lazima kuwe na reciprocal agreement, lazima kuwe na gazette notice, lazima wa respect Section 107, 108 na 109 of the National Police Service Act. So National Security Council haiwezi deploy police officers. Wanaweza only deploy members of the KDF, Kenya Defense Forces. Hiyo ndio maoni ya High Court leo.
The power of the council, they could deploy outside Kenya. Otherwise, there is every reason why when we were doing the constitution, writing this constitution, we renamed it from a police force to a police service. And in fact, It's a government parastatal called KIPRA that actually undertook a detailed investigation on why we must change the name of the police force before the new constitution to a police service so that it can serve you. And you know, I like to give factual examples. I come from a place called Capedo. Maybe many of you have heard about Capedo. It's a battleground. You know, people being killed every other day. There is no enough police service there. So really, what wisdom could possibly have driven President William Ruto to make that roadside declaration that Kenya police, who are very inadequate in our own country, could be deployed to another country, to a gangster, to a gangland, basically. So I think I'm very happy that the judge has outlawed that declaration. He has also clearly stated that, processes must be followed. I think unless you have a specific question,
yes, please. So if I understand correctly,
and I don't even
but what if they sign it tomorrow?
even if they sign, they must still follow the law. The law is very clear. I mean, they can sign whatever agreement. Kenya has signed many treaties, internationally, regionally, but you must still comply with the Kenyan law.
Okay, so what do they need to do if they want to send police forces?
They can't send police forces because it's against our constitution, it's against the law. They can only send the Kenya National Defense Forces, which is the Kenya Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. That's what they are mandated under our Kenyan constitution and under the law. So they cannot touch a police service.
I thought there was something in case of emergency.
There was no emergency.
No, yeah. Let me just clarify our answer before I've been the attorney in this matter. Yeah, first of all, we have to congratulate my client here for doing a good job, impeccable instructions that were presented before court. Number two, I want to congratulate the court for standing firm and delivering justice to Kenyans. It's quite unheard of that somebody just want to wake up one day and say that he's sending troops to 1,000 miles away in Haiti. So the court has said that it's unconstitutional. So let me just clarify three aspects of the judgment. Number one is that, first of all, we were being blamed in the petition that we went prematurely to court, whereas the parliament was considering that matter. And the court indeed found that as at the time that we were in court, a decision had been made by the National Security Council. So there's no premature aspect of the petition. But number two, which is extremely important, is that the National Police Service, the wording of the force as employed in the Constitution, does not connote National Police Service to the extent that the force only means our Kenya Defense Forces, which is the Kenya Army, the Kenya Navy, and the Kenya Air Force. So in that regard, the National Police Service cannot be deployed outside this country. And the court has given direct finding and declarations to that effect. So we are very happy that as we speak, the national government of this country cannot deploy the police to Haiti or any other country. We appreciate that they have the right to appeal. If at all something comes in that regard, we'll be able to deal with it. So that is the conclusion that we've come from court with, and that will relate to the rest of Kenyans.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Okay.
For instance, let me tell you, the National Police Service is under the control of the Inspector General of this country. So when they're under the control of the Inspector General, first of all, they can be deployed in their mundane or ordinary work in the country. But if there is an emergency, let me say in Capedo, where it comes from, or even Lamu, the Inspector General can make a decision to deploy the police to look at that emergency in that place within the country.
And just for the avoidance of doubt, I was on that table when we were writing the Constitution, so we know exactly what we meant when we put service and a force.
Yes.
So for the avoidance of doubt.
Yeah.
No, because they said something about reciprocity. That's what I don't understand.
So yes, that's a very good thing.
That would, it's not the National Security Council. It's the president, but the president has to, number one, ensure that we have a treaty between us and that country, reciprocating country. Secondly, there has to be a gazette notice, a request, and then it has to be gazetted, and then it has to go through Parliament. So if that is not there, then no deployment of police officers can happen. The National Security Council, on its part, can only deploy the Kenya Defense Forces, not the police service.
But technically,
So
the
just to read a formal request under the reciprocity doctrine that is capable of making our police being deployed to that country. Because the subject matter of this petition was very specific to Haiti, not any other country. So there is no government capable of giving a request from Haiti to the government of Kenya. And that none can be manufactured even today and tomorrow.
But let me also say this, from a geopolitical point of view, historically created by colonialists called the French, then the Americans invaded Haiti. The gangs that were supposed to go and clean up in Haiti are weaponized through Florida by the Americans. Honestly, I mean, guys, let's be reasonable here. Who even has the mightiest military in the world? Isn't it the US, the French, Canadians, and all those people? So it does not even make sense why America will not send even 2,000 police officers to Haiti, which is closer to it, and then come to Kenya. You've all seen, for example, when there is an arrest of a black man in the US, you will see almost 10 or even 20 police officers. Yeah? You'll see 20 or even 10 police officers just arresting one black man, whether a child or otherwise. Now, this is a joke that they think that 1,000 police officers from Kenya can actually go and clean up the mess that they created in Haiti. I know this was not part of the petition, but we also know there are other interests in Haiti, other than just you know,
mischief.
Yes.
Extraneous
And
considerations.
I think, yes. We'll leave it at that. Thank you.